This is Matt Russell, and welcome to the DailyFX forums.
So here are the four pairs that I will be discussing this evening: the Euro Pound, the Aussie Kiwi, the Pound Swiss, and the Euro Swiss, as well as the Euro Aussie. So let's go ahead and pull up the charts. The first chart is the Euro Pound. If you recall, during the past several sessions, I've been using this simple resistance line on top with the penetration here and this simple support line on the bottom, obviously. And prices right now getting a little bit closer to that lower support line, and I want to get this exact print right now about 89, let's call it 89.35, and now with prices about 89.90, that's certainly within the realm of possibility within the next 24 hours or so. Prices can come down and test that line again, but I'd look for an entry right at about 89.35 and maybe place a stop at that 89 figure, and also exit obviously on any closes beneath this line. So certainly this is a situation we can monitor over the next 24 to 48 hours. The next chart is the Aussie Kiwi, and again the short trade off this doji up here, entry at 28.05, stop at 28.55. I would go ahead and exit the remaining lots. I mentioned during the last report for Thursday night, if prices got down around 25.50, 25.40 to go ahead and exit, and prices did come down to about 25.08 during yesterday's session, so I would go ahead. Hopefully you were able to exit all positions. So right now we should be flat, and again what I would say right now, we might look for prices to test the opposite side of this previous support line, which could act as resistance, but that's about 100 or so pips away, about 200 pips away right now. So we might go ahead and just put this on the sidelines over the next 24 to 48 hours, and of course I will update with tomorrow's report. The next chart is the Pound Swiss, and again this is just the inverse of the Euro Pound, and not much has really changed here. Still just waiting for prices to come down to this support line here, but that would obviously mean the resistance line on the Euro Pound. So again, we might just stay on the sidelines with the Pound Swiss. The next chart is the Euro Swiss, and if you recall, during the past several reports I've been mentioning that the entry at 51.25 with a stop at 51.50. Prices did come up to about 51.39, so it's kind of like, I don't like that fact because it did sort of violate the integrity of that 51.30 area. With that being said, prices are right now about 51.20, so beneath that area. Again, I'm on the sidelines, but for more aggressive traders, I might stay in this trade right now, again with that same entry, 51.25, stop at 51.50, and again look to take profits around the 50.75 area, which is this congestion zone down here. The next chart is the Euro Aussie, and if you recall during the last report I was mentioning how we might look to take a shot about with a 25 pip stop if prices came down. I believe that the low on this candle was about 60.34, so maybe look for prices to come down to about 60.50, 60.45 with a 25 pip stop. So if you entered on that trade too, again you were stopped out with a small loss. And again, I'm on the sidelines on this pair as soon as the pair did not hold this right shoulder within a few pips. So right now, with this being said, the prices could be forming a double bottom here again, but with those two previous recommendations that didn't work out, I would be a little reticent to go ahead and give a a full endorsement here of a position, if you will. But I do like this first bottom, which was formed by a doji. The low on that candle is 59.47, so right now price is about 60.947, and with prices about right now about 60.20. The previous low on the candle before today's candle, 59.67. So we possibly might look for a double bottom to form here. I would require a more favorable entry than an entry right now at about 60.20. So if prices do come down at least beneath that 160 figure, maybe let's call it about 159.80 with a stop at maybe 159.30. So again, that would be long 159.80 with a stop at 159.30 for the double bottom. Again, my name is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening, and please stay tuned for a preview of the DailyFX. I want to take this opportunity to formally welcome you all to the DailyFX forums. I want to go through the process of how I personally access the forums and how maybe you at home, if you want to access the forums in the future, might do so. The first thing you would do is go to www.dailyfx.com, and that will bring up obviously dailyfx.com, and usually there on the upper right hand corner I'll go ahead and click on where it says forum, and that will bring up the first page of the forums. And this view, I personally don't use this view, but this view actually shows you the most recent posts on all the threads within the different sections and a little detail about those posts, so you can read through and see if there's something catches your interest. But but personally I go ahead and just click on forums and view them in the more traditional sense. Now these are different threads within the forum. There's a section on education such as DailyFX course instructor tips, which would be good for newer traders, and then for more advanced traders. And I just want to go ahead, personally the way I use the forums is I would go through the individual threads, just looking for trade ideas, maybe looking at charts, looking at certain lines that maybe I didn't put up on my chart, but another trader might have put up on their chart. I tend to shy away from using direct trade recommendations from other forum members, but it helps me to sort of even out my analysis, make sure that I'm seeing things with the right mind in terms of I might be missing stuff that other traders can see, and that's my personal way of using the forum. Every trader is going to be a little bit different in how they use it. So if you want to ask questions, if you want to become an active participant of the members, you would have to go ahead and register. So that's what I'm going to go through now, is the registration process. So assuming you're brand new to the forums, or maybe you've been here a few times and you're not really sure how it works, so I just want to walk through again the registration process. This would be the front page where you would access, or the previous page. You'd have the same little box here on the left hand side. My username and password are already filled out here, but assuming you're a new member, you would click on where it says register, and that will bring up the registration page. If you give me one moment here while my browser loads. And actually first we're going to have some terms of service and DailyFX forum rules. I do suggest reading through the forum rules. Obviously, profanity and spam and things like that are not allowed, but it also gives you insight on how to use the forum and how different traders can use it, in terms of their individual needs. So you would go down to the bottom there. You'd click on where it says I have read all the rules, and then you would go ahead to the register, the formal registration page, and that will bring up here. And you can go ahead and select the username, and how about we'll use 4x, and that name is already in use, so maybe add a few more x's there. Again, it really, your individual username is up to you, and you go ahead and fill in your password, your email address. Now the most difficult aspect of registration for the DailyFX forums will be figuring out these letters in the box here. Now I'm a semi-intelligent person, but I have a very difficult time figuring out which letters and numbers to use. Now there is a reason for this madness. It helps with security, but I would suggest just going ahead and keep on clicking that refresh image until something comes through that you can actually identify and see. Then you can go ahead and enter your birthday, but you can decide whether or not to display that to other forum members. And then also, if you were referred by somebody, you can enter that information there. The time zone, that should default to your computer, but you should double check and make sure. And then you can opt in, and I would suggest opting in for these emails in terms if the administrators want to go ahead and send you some notices about the forum, and then you would complete registration. Now what happens is they would send you an email to the email address that you put up here, and that email will include a link, and all you would have to do is go ahead and click on that link, and that link will bring you inside the forum, and you would now be a member of the DailyFX forums. Again, this is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening.